My name is Andy, and I'm an addict. No, not that kind, though Thor knows I've skirted the fringes a few times. No, I'm an app addict. I simply cannot resist the enticing possibilities encapsulated in a shiny new icon in the dock, which promises to fix the thing I was doing perfectly well yesterday. Task managers, to-do apps, mail clients, note apps. I'm a sucker for them all. But if that's the case, then why is it that I'm currently using an almost stock loadout? Mail, notes, reminders, calendar, passwords, the apps that came free with the machine, the ones I spent 20 years and a lot of money trying to escape. The best apps on my Mac cost me nothing, and it only took 20 years and about $5,000 to work that out. Welcome along to the channel, my friends. My name is Andy Hutchinson, and I'm a Gen X British/Australian technology journalist from back in the day and a lifelong Apple fanboy. For anyone who's arrived since the last couple of videos and stayed around, or who is new to the channel, this is Mostly Mac, where I review Apple software and gear the way I've reviewed photography kit for years, which is to say, with no sponsors, no affiliate links, and no particular interest in whether anyone buys anything. This is a proudly shill-free zone. We Mac users are truly blessed with an incredibly energetic developer community who produce an ever-growing array of powerful, inventive, fun, and useful apps and utilities to enhance our Mac experience. Their efforts mean that we can pick and choose precisely the right app for the job, whether that's taking notes, editing photographs, building spreadsheets, making music, or renaming files in bulk, an activity for which I own 3 separate apps and have performed precisely twice. And with a massive number of content creators on platforms like this, constantly telling us that this specific shiny new app will change the way you work forever or 10x your workflow, why wouldn't we download it? I mean, who doesn't want a frictionless second brain? Such is the marketing onslaught and legacy distrust that many of us dismiss the stock apps that come with our Macs without ever giving them a chance. Or perhaps we ditched them long ago when admittedly they were somewhat crap, and continue spending big on hundreds of subscription apps without ever properly considering the built-in alternatives. As someone who's got a lot of miles on his App Store account, I now find myself running mostly stock with a handful of exceptions. Didn't happen overnight, but it did happen without me really noticing. If you've got an app that you love and which works exactly the way you want it to, I'm not here to convince you to give it up. I'm just suggesting you check what's already on the machine before the next renewal comes up. I think I've used pretty much every email app at one time or another. Spark, Outlook, Thunderbird, MimeStream, Canary, Postbox, and Airmail, to name but a few. I've spent extensive time with them all, years in several cases. But one day, a few years ago, I was setting up email on my late father's iMac, and I realized that many of the reasons I'd left Apple Mail behind were no longer valid. In 2022, with the release of Ventura, Apple added undo send, send later scheduling, remind me, and follow up, and they rebuilt search and rich links. In 2024, we've got inbox categorization, digest view for bundled newsletters, and contact photos in the list. That was followed by Apple Intelligence message summaries in the list view, priority messages at the top, and smart reply. And in macOS 27 Golden Gate, we're getting another bump to the search with quick action suggestions and contextual quick action suggestions in Mail, and messages driven by the new Siri. Search was one of the big reasons that I originally left Apple Mail behind, but it works brilliantly for me now, and I have no complaints. I've been running the developer beta of macOS 27 on my main machine, Not something I would recommend you do. And search is not only incredibly fast these days, but nuanced too, with filtering now in the search box. But more importantly, the new Siri AI is every bit as good as everyone's been saying, and I can simply ask Siri to show me the last 5 emails from a particular person or find some oblique reference from decades ago, and it surfaces them for me within seconds. In this day and age, nearly all email now lives on a server rather than on your Mac, whether that's iCloud, Gmail, or a bog standard IMAP account with your own host. And that means that switching email clients is as simple as adding your account login details and then letting the email sync across. So if you're hesitant to jettison Spark or MimeStream, you can test Apple Mail without committing to anything. Of all the nerdy black holes I've disappeared down over the years, the whole second brain one has probably been the most time-consuming. Time was when notes meant a folder full of .txt files on your desktop. But somewhere between pre-COVID and the present day, we started treating note-taking like a lifestyle choice, complete with its own gurus, acronyms, and a mild sense of moral failure if you weren't doing it properly. Oh, believe me, friends, I've been there. Notion, Bear, Obsidian, Craft, Evernote, even a self-hosted wiki that lasted about a weekend. They're all lovely apps, of that there is no doubt, and I'm sure that they serve a valid purpose for some folks with demanding jobs or hobbies and a vast amount of information to filter and backlink. But I'm willing to bet that most of us just need somewhere to stick receipts, recipes, and a note titled Ideas containing a 3-line summary of a book that everyone agrees you should definitely write and which you will definitely not write. I originally signed up for Evernote in 2008 because Apple Note didn't exist at the time, and between the free and premium tiers, I probably sent over $400 their way over the years, and then jumped ship when everyone else did in 2016. The missus and I decided to move to Apple Notes, which had just gained the ability to share notes, and we've never looked back. The version of Notes that I'm currently using in Golden Gate is now highly capable with voice recordings, tags, smart folders, mentions, collapsible sections, and transcription. And just as with Apple Mail, now exceedingly easy to search and filter thanks to the integration with Siri AI. And of course, since it's all linked to my iCloud account, the notes sync effortlessly across all my devices, the 4 Macs, 2 iPhones, and an iPad. If you're using something like Notion or Obsidian, because you were told it would reshape the very fabric of your life and usher in a new era of ultimate organizational jujitsu, then you really should take a proper look at Notes. When it comes to passwords, I have no regrets about being a 1Password subscriber for many years because the built-in password tools were shite. And while I ditched 1Password in 2021, it took until 2024 for Apple to finally make a separate passwords app. While the passwords app doesn't let you store documents like 1Password does, it's free, syncs to all your devices, and in macOS 27 can even change compromised passwords for you without having to lift a finger. I actually prefer the separation of documents and passwords, and since Apple Notes now includes the ability to lock notes using end-to-end encryption, I can safely keep all my sensitive documentation in there instead. The Reminders app is another one of the unsung heroes of macOS and iOS, having steadily grown in complexity over the years. Apple introduced it in 2012, but it took them until 2019 to make it properly useful with groups, subfolders, attachments, and smart lists. And since then, they've added tags, ping lists, a column view, automatic grocery categorization, and deep integration with the Calendar app. In fact, I'd suggest that the only thing going against the Reminders app is its name, which doesn't begin to cover all that it's capable of. I was using Trello for all my planning until 2024 when someone pointed out that the column mode in Reminders is effectively the same style of Kanban board. It doesn't yet have the scheduling capabilities of an app like Things, but it's not far off. There are, of course, heaps of other stock apps, but this video would be 30 minutes long if I covered all of them, and suffice to say, they are all worth taking a second look at. Safari is a genuinely excellent browser these days. Preview is a Swiss Army knife with surprising hidden talents. Freeform is an incredibly flexible digital whiteboard tool. Photos is an ever-improving catalogue and editor. And the brand new Siri app, coming to macOS 27, ties them all together. From screenshots, journaling and backups to automation and bulk file renaming, it's all built in. And while you couldn't call it free, since the cost is covered by the purchase of your Mac, they don't want a monthly payment. They don't get abandoned when the developer moves on to something shinier. And they'll still be there in 10 years when the app you're renting isn't. And that'll do us for this brief look at the stock apps in macOS. Are you a fan of the built-in, or do you swear by Things, Obsidian and Outlook? Do let me know in the comments section below. I have a heap of cool content planned for this channel with upcoming looks at some awesome apps, with open source and commercial, along with guides and roundups for all things Mac related. So if you haven't already, do consider subscribing to the channel. Till the next time, guys. Ta-ta.